attendance has been taken.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome all of our guests here this evening. Thanks for coming and taking the time to be here. I have a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I'll move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Brownlow, by the seconder. Seconded by Councilor Brewer. Any questions on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, if any? Motion carried. Do we have any conflicts of interest this evening? Hearing none, we're all good. So when there's no conflict of interest involved, each councillor has to vote on things that need voted on. There's no, you can't refrain from voting, so we have to vote if we don't have a conflict, and hearing no conflict, right? That's the process. That's our bylaws. We have no delegates this evening, so could I have a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Councilor Forbes. By the seconder? Second by Councilor Annis. Any errors or omissions or questions on the minutes? Hearing none, we're all good? All those in favor? Contrary minded, if any? Motion carried. Business arising from previous meeting minutes, do we have any this evening? No? Okay. Correspondence. We have a donation request from the Canadian Lumberjack Championship. It's going to be moved down to new business, as you can see in brackets. And B, Capital Region Service Commission, track recommendation on proposed rezoning application by MCL Management Limited. Do you want to read that or not? Committee reports, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from April the 8th, 2025. Can I have a motion to approve those, please?
So motion?
Moved by Councilor Drake. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Brownlow. Any questions on those minutes from the Committee of the Whole? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, if any? Motion carried. Our treasurer report will be on May the 27th, the next council meeting. The Chief Administrative Officer's report, we'll ask to call upon him.
Thank you. Our digital specialist summer student, Jake Doran, will be joining us on Tuesday, May 20th. I have informed him that our first order of business is to get our residents to register for our Voyant alert system. There will be social media posts, but this will require a community mail-out. The previous mail-out cost approximately $3,000. I would anticipate that it should be close to the same. He will eventually be available to businesses in the community for helping them with their marketing. I will be meeting with the City of Fredericton planning staff on May 23rd at 1 p.m. to do a walkthrough of the lot beside the ball field on Route 104, which is PID 75127977. It will most likely be a few weeks before we receive any feedback. My goal is to set up a meeting with council and the city staff here in the future Committee of the Whole meeting for a good discussion. Maps. That's the name of the new business that has been awarded the Ignite project for developing a mapping system for Central York. There are already a few provincial websites available that provide great information, but the service aims to combine all the data from the various sites. I do not have all the details yet, but there will be an annual fee associated with the service. Our Central York boat launches officially open on May 1st. This is the last season for our leases with the province. I've been told that it should not be a problem renewing them. For anyone driving by the Douglas location, you may notice items inside the fenced area. That is new fencing for down by the shoreline. Update on the Keswick Valley Arena transfer of ownership. We are still working through the process of taking ownership of the KB Arena from the Keswick Valley Regional Complex Incorporated. The Mayor and I had a meeting with the members of the KVRCI board earlier today. It will take a little more time for the transfer of ownership, but that should be complete prior to the next IC.
have a motion to approve our CAO's report?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Ennis, do I have a seconder? Second by Councilor Forbes. Any questions on the CAO report?
Just,
Yes,
there
Councilor
might
Brewer.
be a mail strike the 22nd starting.
Good point.
Noted. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the report?
Aye.
Contrary minded, if any? Motion carried. Now we'll move on to new business. There's no mayor's report on this council meeting. We'll move on to new business. The floor will be open to members of the public who did not speak during the Estes Bridge meeting on April 22nd, 2025, or have previously submitted written comments regarding the MCL Management Limited rezoning application. In this time frame, we don't usually open this up to public, but we have opened it for 20 minutes or less, and that's only because times seem to be in a crunch at the Estes Bridge meeting. So we're going to open this up, and like it says, if you have had a comment or if you have written something and sent it in, we don't need to regurgitate the information. We want to hear something new if you have something new. So saying that, we'll open it to the floor. And if you wouldn't mind just coming up, stand in front of the screen or whatever if you have something to say.
We don't want to waste our 20 minutes, so I'll jump up here first. I'm Bev Snyder. We live in Douglas. Just for your information, I'm a retired veterinarian. I'm also have a PhD in bioethics, and that includes land use management and animal ethics. We're talking about the Douglas Rural Planning here tonight, and as overseers of the land, we're given the responsibility of looking after the land. We are the stewards of the land that may be in our own private possession or in the community. So it's the responsibility of all of us to look after the land.
If I could just press you for a moment,
You're taking my time.
we'll give you an extra 30
Okay.
seconds. We're here tonight to vote later on 2 PIN numbers, that is rezoning.
And I'm talking generally about the use of those PIN numbers.
Okay, just keep in mind that we're not here about MCL's operation or what they do or whatever. We're voting on those 2 PIN numbers.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so I just wanted to refer to, at first, from the Douglas Rural Plan, the objectives to look after the plan were to conserve the residential character of the area and to ensure the sound management of the environment. And then in the judgment against Spring Hill by Justice Darrell Stevenson, the regulations for the use of the land included to take measures to conserve the residential character of the area and to ensure sound management of the environment, and to protect the rural character of the area and the quality of the life of the residents. And also to protect and ensure the quality of the land and to control pollution of the environment and to protect the aesthetic beauty of the natural environment. That comes from our legal system, Justice Darrell Stevenson. I just wanted to mention that 10 years ago, when approximately when Myra took over, I don't think the people that allowed that to happen were thinking about protecting the land for the residents and the rural character of the land. And we are applying now today to change it from a rural and agriculture to a gravel pit. Well, I don't think it's going to be just a gravel pit. To me, that includes a rock quarry and dust and trucks and blasting and noise and 500 trucks an hour a day going by whatever community that they're going to exit this gravel pit from, this so-called gravel pit. We're talking about a huge acreage about your 2 PID. If you include what they already have with these 2 PIDs, we're probably looking at maybe 800, I don't know, I'm just guessing acres. I didn't stop and figure it out, but it's a huge piece of land. And it's also a wide border all the way around that big piece of land because of the dust and the noise and the traffic, et cetera, et cetera. And my interest here tonight is in the protection of the environment and of the animals. And they have lost already, and you're proposing to lose more, a huge amount of habitat. They need corridors for moving from food resources to wintering areas. They have been obstructed. They will not cross an area as wide as what Myra has there now. So, and you're even asking for more. Also the pollution of the waterways, the wells, the runoff into the river, loss of food resources, and possible agricultural areas in the future. They're all gone. And what about our carbon sink? We need a carbon sink in the area to protect us from what's happening in Manitoba and Saskatchewan right now with these uncontrolled fires. We're lucky here. We have good forests, we have a good atmosphere, and you're taking more and more and more of it. And I'm sure you've already heard of the slippery slope. We're going on a downhill plane here on a slippery slope. When Myra got in 10 years ago, we got on that slippery slope. And we're well down that slide now, and now you're asking to go even further for permanent destruction. When they take over a piece of land, it's totally decimated, and it will never return to what it originally was. Have you ever seen them put the topsoil back and replant the zones, the land? I don't think so. And why would council even consider allowing the money from the destruction of the landscape to go to one company, its owner, and a few employees, at the expense of the community, the people owning the land around, the roads, the preservation of the landscape, etc. It just does not make sense, folks. It doesn't make sense. We're a democratic society. Our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And your responsibility, you were elected to represent the people. And the people here tonight are perhaps telling you that they don't want any more destruction of the landscape in this area. Folks, we've had enough. The community's had enough. We have had enough of the exploitation of our natural resources. We've had enough of the noise and the dust and the trucks and the cracked basements and the ruined wells. We've had enough of it. We've had enough of the destruction of the landscape and the loss of animal habitat and the pollution of our waterways. We ask you to think serious about these problems when you place your votes. You're yours to be representing the people. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that didn't get a chance to speak at Estes Bridge or send in a letter to the Service Commission? Okay,
All right.
could you state your name and
Thanks.
address, please?
Hi, I'm Dennis Atchison. Thank you for the time and for the meeting. I have a show called The Dennis Report. You might have seen it on YouTube. About 7 years ago, I did a series of interviews with people impacted by the board, and I also did a lot of research so that what I was saying online would be supported or documented. 3 quick points. One, I did a 20-minute section specific on the quarry, and I went out with my camera and recorded some stuff. This was in the side of the road, off the back of one of the trucks. In doing the interviews, a lot of the people would talk about rocks flying off the back of the trucks because they were going too quick while they didn't have the canopy over top. So I thought I'd bring one because they still have it 4 years later. So you have to imagine going past the school on Royal Road and finding that on the side of the road and maybe there are kids there. So that's a safety issue that a lot of the residents will speak to, but there's one of the rocks, okay? You can pass it around if you want. Number 2, when I tried to do research on why not go down Cloudy Road instead of all the way over to Royal Road, which then got into all of the talk about the turtles and the habitat and the watershed and stuff. And when you measure it, down Cloudy Road is 1 kilometer. When you go down Royal Road, it's 5 clicks to get to the Royal Road. So when I asked the city engineer, why didn't you just let it go down Cloudy Road? he said, as best I can recall, I can show you the emails if you need documentation, that it's a city-owned road, the other one was a provincial road, so the recommendation was to go out the other way, which then got you into all the schmozzle about the turtles and the natural habitat and the dust and the further distance for the quarry to go. So there was something askew sort of with the process why you can go 5 clicks and that's okay, but you can't go 1 click and that's not okay, because at some point we're on the city roads again. The hardest part which ties to this committee is that the people involved with the decision making back then didn't live in the area. The structure of the committee was one's in Macklewick and one's over here and one's over there. So they rely heavily on the recommendation from staff. But you probably didn't have the time to get into it that much to kind of see the impact of what it would have on the local residents short of venues like this. So I just wanted to add those pieces, and you're at the front end of the process here, and it's a process-driven point I'm trying to make, not the outcomes, not the impact of quarry, it's about the process that you're in right now. And when I interviewed Stephen Horstman when he was running as a candidate, and he was the MLA at the time, I said, Stephen, like the impact, the economic impact on the households is phenomenal. And value of houses, property drop, and all that stuff. So how does that not enter into the equation? And his answer basically was that horse is out of the barn, I can't do anything now, Dennis. So the horse isn't out of the barn here. You're at the front end of it. Some of you may not even know what the area looks like. I just wanted to offer some thoughts about 15 or 20 shows, personal impact kind of interviews with people. It's all still there online, you can see it. The 20-minute documentary thing I did that involves the rock and what it's like when they go past the senior center at 80 or 90 clicks, you know. So I hope that helps. Thanks for the time.
If I could comment,
Sure.
I've been working for 2 years to try to get an alternate exit
Oh yeah?
for at least half the trucks. If they went in one way empty and another way loaded. And I keep getting resistance from the city. I will never give up on it while I sit in this chair. I will always keep working on it.
Yeah.
It would take part of the stress off Estes Bridge, and why should Estes Bridge have it all and no other street or whatever have any of that? It's not right in my books, and the city's very difficult to deal with, but I will never give up on it.
Good.
I may not get it done,
Yeah.
but I will not give up.
Well, the committee's job is to do its best, right, with all the plates that you have to spin. One quick little anecdote about the turtles. I came to do the research on who did the study on the turtles in that area, and it turned out it was a person that I knew from university days 30 years ago. So Mo, like, is this you? Is this Maureen, like, from way back when? Yeah, it's me, Dennis. Second, I asked her about that study that she did on the impact on the turtles. She goes, nope, I can't talk about that. You have to talk to Mr. Bird, which for me sent up flags. So maybe that's just me about the flags, but something was off. Just to kind of legitimize what the neighborhood's been talking about. Anyway, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So is there anyone else that hasn't had a chance to speak? Mark?
Hi, Mark Schneider. I live on the Douglas, and I've traveled over that countryside many times as a hunter over years, 50 years or more. And it's very nice country. But it seems to me that zoning bylaws are put in place to ensure that we have good neighbors, that people in an area have compatible uses and they can live together well. And in this case, we're having a neighbor, a protective neighbor come in and ask to do something very destructive, something that's destructive to the land and to all the neighbors around. So it's going against the very basic principle of land use planning, and if we go about modifying it every time someone comes to have something like this, there's no point in doing the exercise in the first place. So I say that it just totally goes against the principle of land use planning to grant this kind of an amendment to it.
turtle fell Thursday in the stream.
So that's what I
Downstream, downslope from the Myra Quarry.
Okay,
He's
thank you.
frozen.
Is there anyone else that hasn't had a chance to speak?
Oh, jeez.
Andreas Decken. I live in Douglas. I know the area quite well. I fat bike up there with the permission of the local landowners. And one of the things that we just heard about neighbors, and we saw a rock. We know that rocks on the roads are not legal, and we know that we want to live with good neighbors. At the last meeting that we had, we heard a lot about we want to be good neighbors. But from what I see is that those people had over 10 years to be good neighbors, and that does not seem to have worked at all.
You need to let the person speak and finish speaking, please.
And so I'm looking at a miracle if all of a sudden things would change. I do not believe they do. I own a truck, I own a trailer, I get mulch. They don't even let me into the yard until I show them the tarp, and they make sure that the tarp is on before I leave. Myra had 10 years to do the same with the trucks that leave their quarry. And as good neighbors they should, and they did not, and I do not believe that there will be any change in the future. Thank you very much.
We have a couple minutes left. Does anyone else have anything to say? Sure. Blaine?
Blaine Mason, as most of you know, I've been in Essex Bridge for over 50 years, and I guess there's certain ways you got to really look at this. It is a permitted use. There is guidelines on the environment, and whether we agree with the level of guidelines there is. Nevertheless, it's set by federal, provincial laws, municipality laws. Myra met and exceeded all those laws. As far as the trucks and the tarps, by law, tarps on loads that are 0 to 3/8 minus. I know that because I've been trucking for 35 years. So tarps don't have to be on large rocks. Those large rocks could come from tires, could come from anything. They could fall off the truck as well. But that is up to the truck driver. I'm responsible for my load when I leave. Not Myra, not anybody else. The same as the mulch. If you're hauling mulch, you're responsible for that load as well. As far as being good neighbors, I volunteered a lot in Essex Bridge. I was the president of the rec center down there. I'm sure Adrian was probably getting pretty annoyed at me calling him. He does help our community a lot, and I mean a lot. And people, one thing Adrian says, and I'm sorry for going against this, but Adrian says don't advertise it because people think I'm just doing it because of the quarry. He's not. He's doing it because he's part of the community. Part of the community, he's got jobs for people in Central York. Central York's unique because look at the contractors we have in Zealand, in Keswick, and all over. So it's not just the 80 jobs he has, we're talking hundreds of jobs indirectly that he can have. He passed the requirements. We're talking about promoting businesses. We set guidelines, it's permitted use. He met all of them. So how can you say no? How can you say no? But having said that, you cannot ignore the people that gotta live with it. So when I was with DTI, we tried to get speed limits changed. I think that's something that you guys could advocate as well. Get the speed limit down to 60. There's over 7 businesses on that S-turn. The S-turns, the only accidents that's been there has been passenger vehicles. There's been no truck, but to slow the trucks down, that would slow the breeze and the debris off the road from being sprayed in the air. We can get digital radar lights. They're 10 grand for 2 of them, put one on each end. So they flash so people know they're traveling too fast. Slow it down, right? And as a truck driver, if I'm doing 60 coming from town, I do not need a jake brake. And you guys probably would have the power to put up the sign and say, no jake brakes. But this is just like passenger vehicles or any other vehicles. You're gonna have good drivers, you're gonna have bad drivers. You're gonna have ones that ain't gonna respect you, and you're gonna have ones that will. So they're not all bad. There are some good people out there as well. But I do thank Adrian for what he has done for our community and our community center a lot. Because we wouldn't have the gym court that we have, we wouldn't have the walking trail we have without his support. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
No problem.
A little bit for me. Okay, you're down to the final few moments here. Is there anyone else that hasn't had a chance to speak?
May I ask a question or just a point of interest, and not to contribute more information, but just to make an observation about the process? I'll be 30 seconds.
You had a lot, you spoke 2 or 3 times at Estes Bridge, right?
I did, but this is something different. Something's changed. If I could just say, I understand that there was a tour of the quarry that was done, and I do credit council for trying to be very equal in how you allow people to talk and the time that's allowed. But you did the tour of the quarry, but I would suggest that perhaps before you make a final vote, you do a tour of the neighborhoods and see the impact it's having on people's lives.
If I may, I have walked around the field, I've walked up and down the brook, I have visited Mr. McQueen's home.
But that's not your one vote,
as well.
to be fair.
I've been there while the quarry's been, like in the summertime while it's
I've done the
operating.
same.
So, excuse me, nobody darkened my door.
I've actually been at your home, your wife used to cut my hair.
Well, that's not now, when this situation
Anyways,
happened.
I didn't mean to stir
Okay.
a pot, but I'm just saying that I think it would be nice for everybody to get to see what it's like for people who live down there. If you're gonna do one, just be fair and do the other as well.
Right, I think most of council have been through the area. I know there was a couple or one who didn't make it that night of the tour, and we've been to the stream, and I guess we've covered much of the territory.
But you spoke to the residents.
No, you haven't been in the residents' yards.
Well,
and
If
it's-
one resident doesn't count, then he's.
Sorry,
Yeah, plural.
Spoken to some, I wouldn't say no, it'd be naive, we said all. So.
Anyways, I apologize for taking your time, but I just thought that was a valid point.
Okay.
Just one more question, Mr. Chairman. I believe an environmental assessment has not been done, is that correct?
That's out of our hands, and that I think is the next process that Myra has to go through. Am I wrong on that?
That's correct.
You have to go through environmental
We got to go
assessment.
to the Department of Environment and their
Yes.
regulations.
Was
See,
it done before the previous piece of land was?
That's
not
where so
done?
many things, like, we're one step of the process.
Yeah,
There's many things that have to happen before and after,
yeah.
before this moves on. So, okay, we're gonna close it there, nothing else? We'll call on our CAO to do the reading for us, please. Yes. Read it and then we'll get the motion. You get first.
Central York Rural Community Bylaw number A-12, a bylaw to amend the Douglas Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation 03-DOU-024-000.
Could I ask a counselor that would make that a motion, put that in a motion? Moved by Deputy Mayor, or Councilor Forbes. I apologize, Councilor Forbes was Deputy Mayor for 2 years. So, do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councilor Brewer. Any further discussion on the title, the bylaw by title, council? Okay, we'll call on our secretary to call on each councilor and take the vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Dustin Brownlow,
Yes.
Councillor Ken Drake,
Yes.
Councillor Jarrett Forbes,
Yes.
Councillor Wayne Annis,
Yes.
Councillor Cheryl Brewer,
Yes.
Councillor Joan Edwards,
Yes.
Councillor Rachel Downing,
Yes.
Mayor David Duplessis.
Yes.
Unanimously carried.
Motion carried. Thank you. So I'll ask for the second reading in its entirety of bylaw number 812.
Central York Rural Community Bylaw number 8-12, a bylaw to amend the Douglas Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation 03-DOU-024-00. Pursuant to section 59 of the Community Planning Act, the Council of Central York Rural Community enacts the following amendments to the Douglas Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation 03-DOU-024-00. The following amendment is to subsection 2.4, 2.41. For the purposes of the regulation, the area is zoned as delineated on the attached Schedule A entitled Douglas Planning Area Zoning Map, dated February 14th, 2001, is amended by Schedules C-1 and D-1. Number 2, that the land having PID 75147009 and 01526839 is shown on the map herein attached as Schedule D-1 and subject to the agreement herein attached as Schedule D is hereby rezoned pursuant to section 59 of the Community Planning Act from golf course zone, GC zone, and single and two-family residential and agricultural zone, R zone, respectively, to gravel pit zone, GP zone, within the Central York Rural Community of the Parish of Douglas and the County of York, being within the designated area of the Douglas Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation 03-DOU-024-00. But Schedule D. Between the Central York Rural Community, a municipal body corporate being situated in the County of York and the province of New Brunswick, herein referred to as a municipality, and MCL management, herein referred to as the applicant. Whereas the municipality has been asked to rezone property currently owned by MCL management located in the Central York Rural Community, NB, PID 75147009, from golf course zone, GC zone, and PID 01526839, from single and two-family residential and agricultural zone, R zone, to gravel pit zone, GP zone, under section 59 of the Community Planning Act. And whereas the municipality is authorized by the provisions of section 59 of the Community Planning Act to enter into an agreement with the applicant imposing reasonable terms and conditions as a resolution of council. Now therefore, witnesseth that for in consideration and mutual covenants and agreements contained herein, municipality and the applicant covenant and agree to as follows. Number 1, that the operation of the quarry be in general conformity with the site plan attached to Schedule E-2. Number 2, that prior to commencing of any excavation upon said lands, a copy of an approval to operate as issued by the Department of Environment and Local Government shall be submitted to the Development Officer of the Capital Region Service Commission. Number 3, that a copy of all subsequent approval to operate as issued by the Department of Environment and Local Government shall be submitted to the Development Officer of the Capital Region Service Commission. Number 4, that all excavations shall comply with the required within the Clean Air Act, the Water Quality Regulation, Clean Environment Act, the Clean Water Act, in particular the Water Course and Wetland Alteration Regulation, and the Water Well Regulation, Clean Water Act. Number 5, that the applicant contact the Water Course and Wetland Alteration Branch of the Department of Environment and Local Government to verify potential unmapped water course or wetland on the property. Number 6, that the applicant shall obtain, if required, a water course and wetland alteration permit and address concerns noted by the Department of Environment and Local Government, the Wawa Branch. Number 7, that the applicant shall obtain, if required, an environmental impact assessment and address concerns noted by the Environmental Assessment Branch. Number 8, that the applicant shall submit to the Authorizations Branch a revised final operation perimeter, blast monitoring plan, adhere to rock quarry sitting standards, apply and be approved for revised approval to operate, and address any concerns noted by the Authorization Branch of the Department of Environment and Local Government. Number 9, that the developer of the operation shall comply with the Species at Risk Act and must address concerns noted by the Department of Natural Resources and Energy Development. Number 10, that if there is an accidental discovery of archaeological resources during any groundbreaking activities, the proponent shall follow Section 9 of the Heritage Conservation Act. Number 11, that the provisions within subsections 3.52, 3.53, 3.54, 3.55 and 3.56 of the Douglas Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation, Community Planning Act, for excavations within a gravel pit, GP zone apply. Number 12, that the hauling road for the entry of the trucks upon, or the removal of materials from said lands be located upon or in the vicinity of lands having PIDs 75349084 and 75152702, and connecting to Royal Road as shown in Schedule D-2, subject to the following. All associated costs of constructing and maintaining the hauling road will be borne by the applicant. Number 14, all required permits are obtained with regards to the construction of any structure to facilitate the crossing of a water course. Number 15, that the hours of operation are restricted to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Saturday, with no operation on Sunday or prescribed days of rest in accordance with the Days of Rest Act. Number 16, that the entrance to the site shall have a barrier to control access to the site. Number 17, that signs shall be placed at any entrance, tracks and or trails, etc., bearing the word danger, no trespassing, and the nature of the operation. Number 18, that trucks and vehicles waiting to access the quarry are not to be parked or idling along Route 620. Number 19, that any additional services beyond those specified in the application require the applicant to contact the Capital Region Service Commission Planning and Development Office to assess the necessity of obtaining any further land use approvals. Number 20, that the rezoning of lands herein does not mean an approval on the issuing of subsequent permits or approvals, such as for building or subdivision. Any violations or terms and conditions as set out by council resolutions and contained in these agreements may result in the termination and cancellation of this rezoning within 30 days of written notice.
Thank you. Could I have a councillor put that bylaw number 812 and what's in of its entirety into a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Annis, second.
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Brownlow. Any question or concerns on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call on our secretary if she would address each councillor and their response, please.
Deputy Mayor Dustin Bramwell,
Yes.
Councillor Ken Drake,
Yes.
Councillor Jared Forbes,
Yes.
Councillor Wayne Annis,
Yes.
Councillor Cheryl Brewer,
Yes.
Councillor Joan Edwards,
Yes.
Councillor Rachel Downey,
Yes.
Mayor David Duplessis.
Yes.
That's 8 yeas.
So the motion's carried. And we'll move on to D. Donation request from the Canadian Lumberjack Championship Organizing Committee. Do we have a value?
Last year, we went with
So the last 2 years, we had gold sponsor at $1,500. Council can change that if they so desire. And if they don't, if they want to leave it the same, I just ask the council to motion or put a different value in the motion. Someone would care to move that?
I'll move it.
Okay, what's same?
Yeah, keep it at 1,500.
Okay.
So, I motion that we accept the donation request from the Canadian Lumberjack Championship Organizing Committee in the amount of $1,500.
Seconded by Councilor Forbes.
Third, well, that's a
Any
lot more than that
question?
you didn't find.
Raising this donation.
Very
Yes.
hard.
Page 2, where they say, please indicate in your email what event you would like to sponsor. Is that the decider?
A goal is overall, I believe, but
I'm just reading from this, and they list the events.
I sponsor an event because my value is much less. Like my wife and I, for Timberline Storage, we sponsor a specific event.
So you are sponsoring them all?
We sponsor wherever they need it. The overall day, and if they have one that falls through, then we will pick that up. So it just goes into the pot, and we're announced, I think it's on the letter, Central York is announced throughout the day, and whatnot as gold sponsorships. Councilor Downey?
I think the confusion is that number 3 is event sponsor, and this is just a continuation of what we're gonna do on product sponsor number 2.
Yes. So we have a motion, we have a seconded for the gold sponsorship of $1,500. Is there any further question or debate on it? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, if any? Motion carried. Any other new business?
It's kind of related to that last one. Do we have a banner?
For Central York?
Yeah, that we can put up like.
Right behind you, Will.
We're in the process of getting something similar to a banner.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Okay. Does it? Easy, easy. That's it. I just had the questions like, we should have a banner for that and for the golf
Yes.
tournament.
I agree.
Okay.
They're gonna run the golf a little different this year. I heard it's not gonna be so many walk around the golf area. I don't know what, but I heard this from tourism, that they're just a little different strategy, so. Anyway,
Sorry. That's it.
that's being addressed, so we're good there. Any other new business? No closed session?
Nice to you.
Not really.
Close it first, then I'll.
Sorry. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move it.
Second by